Hey everyone, Nikola updated investors with their third quarter results, and as I do with every company that I follow, I update my buy or sell recommendation every quarter along with the updated information. So that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm going to answer if I think Nikola stock is a buy after these quarterly results came out. Now remember, coming into this quarter, I did not have Nikola stock rated as a buy. I had it closer to the borderline of a hold or a sell. And so you're going to want to tune in to see if I'm changing that recommendation after these quarterly results came out. So let's jump right into it.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.
Starting with the third quarter financial highlights for Nikola. Now, in the 3 months that ended September 30th, Nikola did not produce any trucks, right? Remember, it's been plagued with the recall issue and it's got limited amount of money on its hands, so it's not trying to produce that many more trucks right now, especially because it still has a considerable amount of the battery electric trucks in inventory already. Its focus is going to be on ramping up production of the hydrogen fuel trucks. So it shipped 3 trucks in the quarter. That was compared to producing 75 and shipping 63 in the same quarter the prior year. And total revenues were negative for Nikola of 1.7 million as it had to refund customers perhaps, and maybe also the money that it had to pay for warranties and the recall issues. So the company gross profit loss was 125 million in the quarter compared to 30 million in the same quarter the prior year. Net loss from continuing operations of 425 million. So you might say all of this money that Nikola continues to lose, and Nikola's been losing a lot of money on the bottom line for since the start of its existence. It's doing this at the expense of investors, lenders, and shareholders. It's going to investors and it keeps asking investors for more and more and more money. And it says, we're going to use that money and we're going to do all these great things and we're going to be an innovative company and we're going to help transition the world to cleaner energy. And it tells a good story. And so far, you'll notice here the weighted average shares outstanding almost doubled in the most recent quarter to 857 million, up from 438 million. Nikola kept going back to shareholders and asking them to raise the limit of how many shares outstanding they can have so that they can keep going back to investors asking for more money from investors. If I was an investor in Nikola stock, which I am not, I would prefer Nikola make money from its operations, buying material, making these trucks and selling these trucks and generating sufficient cash to keep itself in operation instead of continuing to come back to investors and asking for more and more money. So the good news for Nikola is that the government incentives are in its favor. The government in California, especially, is strongly encouraging folks to switch over from their diesel fueled trucks over to battery electric trucks or hybrid trucks. And beginning January 1st, 2024, all new trucks registered with California Air Resources Board for operation in California must be zero emissions. Those are the kind of trucks that Nikola sells, so that's in its favor. For the hydrogen fuel cell truck, there's a $288,000 incentive and up to a $408,000 incentive per truck. So there's strong incentives for businesses to switch over to these zero emission trucks, and that industry tailwind is in Nikola's favor. But they keep having difficulty in just doing what they do, right? Getting the materials, making the trucks, selling the trucks, and doing this without losing too much money on the bottom line. They do have 277 orders from 35 customers, but the key here is that these are non-binding orders. So these customers can cancel these orders at any time. In the quarter, they received purchase orders for 47 battery electric trucks, even though these trucks are in recall right now and the batteries are being replaced. from a different supplier. So I mentioned earlier they went to investors and they raised another $250 million in the third quarter, and now they have $362 million of cash on hand. But we'll see that with the rate of cash that they're burning through, it's not going to last very long, this money that they have on hand. They're going to need to go back to investors and ask for more money relatively soon. So I mentioned earlier that the battery electric truck is in recall and they're replacing existing trucks with new packs from an alternative supplier. They expect these trucks to be back in customer hands in late Q1 2024. So even though I mentioned they're in recall, they received more orders for these trucks. And the good news is that Nikola already has a meaningful amount of these trucks in its inventory. So it's not going to need to spend any more money to make these trucks. As soon as they're ready to be delivered, Nikola can deliver these trucks to customers and get the money for that delivery and in essence turn inventory into cash, which it so desperately needs. So I mentioned earlier the losses are mounting. 425 million in net losses from continuing operations in the most recent quarter. That's significantly higher than at any point in the previous 3 quarters. Again, that's due to the recall, but it seems like there's always something happening with Nikola that's causing the company to lose millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. They just can't seem to get things right. For the fourth quarter of 2023, management is forecasting to deliver between 30 and 50 trucks and to generate between 11.25 million and 18.75 million in the quarter. But even if they hit those targets, they would still lose considerable amount of money on the bottom line. Management expects a negative gross profit margin between negative 135% to negative 215%. So the company, regardless if it delivers 30 or 50 trucks, it fully expects to lose a lot of money on the bottom line. And these delivery numbers, again, is just a forecast. It's not for certain that Nikola will actually hit these numbers. So following the release of these earnings results and these updated financial and operating figures, Nikola's stock price was up on the day, surprisingly. I certainly didn't see much news in the quarterly update to suggest an optimistic reading of the company's quarterly results. Nevertheless, Nikola's stock price has not really traded fundamentally according to what's happening with the business actually. It's been trading volatile with a lot of volatility up and down 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% in a day, in a week, in a month. And so it's not strongly connected with the financial performance of the company. Still, it's good news for Nikola stock investors that the stock increased by roughly 10% on the day of this announcement. But if I was to zoom out a little bit, going back 3 years, you can see Nikola's stock price is down significantly from the highs of over $30 per share down to about $1.13 per share. There is no telling if it'll ever get back to those levels. But if you were to ask me again to update my recommendation on Nikola stock, is it a buy, a sell, or a hold? I would keep Nikola stock rated where it was before the announcement of these earnings, and that is on the borderline between a hold and a sell. If you don't already own this stock, I would not own it right now. I would not buy it right now. I would want to see more progress from the company in delivering what it says it's going to deliver and actually building trucks and selling them and not losing so much money on the bottom line in its core operations. So for all those reasons, I would not touch this stock. I would stay away from it if I could. And if you already own it, then I would suggest considering some tax loss harvesting strategies, or maybe even slowly selling your shares as the stock price jumps on days like today. But before I let you go, if you've gained any value from this video, please subscribe to the channel. It'll help me make more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for more videos on Nikola stock.